What is the main cause in your mind to why it's so hard for people to get rid of that extra 20 or 30 pounds of belly back fat?
So when you think about fat burning, there's two different phenomenon at play. One is thermodynamics, so there's more calories in than calories out. And then the other is lipolysis. So if you're going to restructure or recomp a building or your body, you have to remove blocks in some places and then put blocks in other places. So a lot of fat burners help with lipolysis. So they break fat molecules down and they increase, for example, mitochondrial beta oxidation, which is basically just you're metabolizing fats and then using them in the electron transport chain in the mitochondria. The details don't really matter, but that's essentially the powerhouse of your cell. And you can do that all you want, but if you're still, at caloric maintenance or even excess, surplus, then you're just going to take all those blocks and then put them right back into fat cells.
Gotcha. So you need a caloric deficit, it sounds like, somewhere at some point in order to remove. You need to be exercising more than you're consuming, you're burning more calories than you're consuming,
Correct.
Or consuming less than you normally would.
There's many tools and ways to achieve this, of course.
Sure. What ways?
So the OG way is just counting calories.
Right.
And even if you look at doctors and dietitians, we usually underestimate the amount of calories that we consume, I believe by at least 10%.
Wow.
And we overestimate the amount of calories that we burn by about 10%.
We think we're burning more.
Correct.
We're not.
Even doctors and dietitians.
Really?
Yeah.
And we think we're eating less, but there's always hidden calories in something, right? Or you maybe didn't weigh it perfectly or it was a bigger size or something, right? Okay, so that's the original ways to count calories. Do you recommend that strategy?
For some individuals, it's particularly helpful. Most of the time that I see a patient in my clinic, and a lot of what I do is obesity medicine. I am board certified in obesity medicine. They have already done that. And many of the time they say, it doesn't work, and I eat like a bird, and there's nothing quite as powerful to destroy a physician-patient relationship than to just tell the patient that they're lying or that they don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
So it's not helpful to push that angle of vector. That's just a tool, and there's many tools in the toolbox. For some people, whether it's genetic or epigenetic or just their situation that they're in life or their mental health or their hormone health, it makes it very difficult for them to lose weight, almost like it's more difficult for someone in quicksand to get out. So you can teach a person how to dig. That's your lifestyle interventions. But you should also give them a shovel to help out.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you throw a shovel at them.
Sure.
But that's where medications and supplements come in to address whether it's insulin resistance or whether it's their mental health or their hormone health, to help give them the tool to do it themselves.
Okay. So the counting the calories works for some, doesn't work for everyone. What else would you suggest they do then? Or what have you seen has been really effective consistently for people you've worked with?
When I write a prescription for this, I have several different areas or boxes that I can circle. And one of them is number of meals per day. One of them is macronutrients, for example, carbohydrates. One of them is timing of meals. One of them is eating speed. So there's a lot of strategies to develop good eating speed habits. For example, split your meal into 3 different portions. Consume one, wait 10 minutes. Consume the next one if you would like, wait 10 minutes, and then consume the last one if you would like.
So don't just put it all in your mouth in 10 seconds, is what I'm hearing you say, which is kind of my whole childhood. Just like eat it as fast as you can, not know that you're full, and just keep eating more, right?
These are extremely powerful for pediatric patients for childhood obesity. I believe in the New England Journal of Medicine did a study, and it was called the turtle bite study, where every 5 or 10 bites at some interval, the kids took one bite that was extremely slow, and it was helpful for recomposition of those kids.
Really? You mean recomposition of their bodies?
When you're in the field of pediatric obesity medicine, you're not really your end target's not weight loss.
Sure.
It's usually weight gain, but a body recomposition.
Huh. So less fat.
Correct.
Weight gain, but more like you're growing as a child either way. but it's diversifying the weight gain, I guess, right?
Correct.
Directing it in another place. Interesting. Okay, so we have meals per day, timing of meals, eating speed. I think you said one or two others.
Timing of meals, that would kind of incorporate intermittent fasting, which
Yep.
is not, it's more of a health tool rather than a weight loss tool.
Meals per day, eating speed, timing.
I'm sure there are other tools. Those are
Sure.
the ones that I remember off the top of my head.
If you were just saying, hey, listen, I don't want to count calories, I'm probably not going to do the intermittent fasting thing. I'm not going to eat slower or like split it up in three things. That seems like too much work for me. But I will eat one less meal a day, right? Or I'll only eat a certain amount of meals, and then I'll essentially be intermittent fasting in that process. But if I looked at it as, okay, what would my meals per day look like? If I wanted to consume a little less calories, obviously I'm going to feel hungry, but when can I do it where I'm not going to want to munch on extra calories? What would that be? Skip dinner? Is that, what does that look like?
I would say skip eating after dinner and don't even worry about taking away a meal. No eating after 7 p.m. That being said, if you do remove one meal, whether it's breakfast or lunch or dinner, it is not helpful at all for weight loss or body composition.
To remove one meal, it's not helpful.
Correct. So in isolation, removing one meal is not helpful at all for weight loss.
Really?
It's truly an intervention for health reasons if you would benefit from that. Less mTOR signaling, less like growth signaling in cells in general, or more of a reprieve where your body's immune system has a chance to go throughout the rest of your cells and see if there is abnormal ones.
Okay.
For most individuals, unless they like doing that for mental clarity or whatever benefit, some people really like skipping breakfast. But many people, especially those that struggle with metabolic syndrome, have other pathologies. There's several new ones. There is sleep eating syndrome, where you eat, you're sleeping, you wake up, and then you eat and you don't even realize it.
Really?
You see that there's, a bag of chips and you literally don't even remember it, almost like sleepwalking.
Wow.
And there's also night eating, where you consume almost all of your calories between dinner and bedtime. Often these individuals also stay up late at night.
Those are chips, snacks, and other like kind of emptier calories, right?
Correct. But they don't eat breakfast.
Really? Ice cream, cookies, or whatever it might be, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the time where you could really, if you just stop eating after dinner, you'll eat less calories. And that sounds like you're still at kind of like the even maintenance. You're not a caloric deficit, correct? Unless you eat less in each meal.
Correct. And obviously it's possible to be in a deficit and do that as well. But that's your biggest bang for the buck, is not eating anything after dinner. Because society values family dinners and also social dinners with colleagues and whatnot, it would be very difficult to tell everybody to stop eating dinner. But if you wanted to design the perfect, like in a lab, Truman Show style, whatever you want to call it, not eating after about 3 p.m. would be even more beneficial. So
For weight loss.
For health reasons.
For health, not weight loss.
I don't think it would have any effect with weight loss. Maybe it would, but that I know of, it has not been studied.
Gotcha. So it's truly because you can still consume all your calories in the morning and in the afternoon before 3 o'clock for the day. You could still consume a lot of calories, is what you're saying. So you'd still have to cut the amount of calories in that timing window. And then you'd just be intermittent fasting longer, right? Which would help for health benefits, and maybe it would, I guess, help cleanse some of the dead cells and kind of like regenerate new cells, that type of thing, but not necessarily for weight loss. Is that what I'm hearing you say? But at the end of the day, it sounds like it's a caloric deficit.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of helping provide individuals with the tools that will work best for them. So for some, they might need a shovel, and for some, they might want and or need a backhoe.
Sure. It doesn't seem like you've ever been out of shape. Have you ever been overweight?
When I had my first child, I was about 40 pounds overweight.
Really?
Yeah, and I could hardly tell because I'm so
You're tall.
Yeah,
it's hard to see.
Skinny.
So it's kind of like the fat just a little bit everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So how did you burn that 40 pounds? What did you do?
I eliminated all liquid calories.
Yeah.
I ate foods of low caloric density, but high nutrient density.
Like what? These 5 types of food groups are, yeah.
A lot of salmon. I love spinach. I ate a lot of spinach. That would kind of go under the fiber category. Yeah. I love carrots, although carrots don't have a lot of dietary fiber. They're just kind of empty insoluble fiber, if you will. Not totally, of course.
It's not many calories. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a few months later, I was kind of back at my baseline.
Really?
Yep.
40 pounds, just like that in a few months. Just by changing the way you ate.
My biggest intervention was I eliminated all liquid calories, and I did not have any more than 2 caloric beverages, whether it was like a coffee with a bunch of cream in it. I did learn to like black coffee during that time, and I
Really?
still do, but no more than 2 beverages with calories in them per month.
Interesting, because like something like a bulletproof coffee, which is, a lot of people talk about intermittent fasting with a bulletproof, that still has a lot of calories, doesn't it?
I don't know the macronutrient profile on bulletproof offhand, but I believe it's mostly protein.
Okay.
So the one exception to that for some individuals could be a protein shake. And you would probably want to consume this in the morning rather than the evening. That way you can have the benefit of some degree of appetite suppression. Some protein shakes like casein, which is an interesting one to talk about because it can also affect prolactin. And some people negatively, if their prolactin's too high, casein can increase it. But casein is also digested very slowly, and it has a lot of amino acids in it that will activate mTOR. So during your eating window through the day, if you consume your casein at the beginning of the eating window, then it can be helpful to provide satiety and also help with anabolism. But if you consume it at the end of your day, then it's going to essentially cut short your fasting period.
So if you have a protein shake after 8 o'clock, right? Say someone's working out consistently and they're doing a workout in the morning or in the afternoon, they eat their dinner, but then they're still hungry and they say, well, let me just do a protein shake, right? It's 150, 200 calories, but it's 20 to 40 grams of protein. Are you saying having that, because it's got the calories, it's extending the eating window, so it's not allowing you to burn off those calories more, or what are you saying there?
That would be more for health reasons. For example, let's take an intermittent faster that right before bed every night, they have a shake of 50 grams of casein. So that's essentially making their intermittent fasting for health reasons worthless.
Right.
Because their mTOR is still very active for many hours at night. However, if you are looking at the satiety benefit of specifically protein, if your shake has just protein in it, then that's going to help provide some degree of satiety.
Where you're not hungry. That's what you mean, yeah.
Yep. And there's obviously a lot of factors to this. One that has received a lot of press recently is called GLP-1. There's all these different drugs like semaglutide that are GLP-1 agonists. And if you look at carbs spike up GLP-1 very quickly. GLP-1 is produced in a lot of areas, but a lot of it is the gut and also the pancreas. And then fat will increase very, very slowly, but it will increase GLP-1 for a long time, and protein is somewhere in between. I am spiritual. I would not consider myself religious, but I do think that every human has a soul, and also that every human has a purpose. So often I would pray with my patients, and I would talk to them and ask them what they think, even among, like, let's just take a group of people, say Christians,